Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan sitting down, pretty freaked out about the possibility. They're kind of examining this back and forth. Will Trump actually be put in jail? Now, I do not know the answer to this, but someone a little wiser than even Joe Rogan and even Matt Walsh, Megyn Kelly, who's actually a lawyer, she chimes in on this subject as well. And that's a different clip that I got for you guys. But of course, as always, we're going to start with the Joe Rogan clip. Let's get into it.
It can say something and it can be not true, but yet enough people repeat it, and then it just becomes a narrative that everyone just, it's true that he's a convicted felon now, but is it true that it makes any sense? No. For you to say that he's a convicted felon, okay, right, but what did he do? Do you know what he did? What he did is a misdemeanor. And it also had lapsed the whatever the it is where you statute of limitations. Thank you. So, and there's 34 counts for bookkeeping.
Right, but they don't know what he did. The people saying that, they don't know what he did. They don't care.
Right, they don't care. So they just repeat that thing, that he's a convicted felon. I can't find this goddamn thing. It's driving me nuts. Because it was really interesting. I hate when I save something and I don't know where I put it, but I know I do.
And the funny thing is, these are also people who otherwise would say that the court system is entirely corrupt, that just because you're a convicted felon, it really doesn't mean anything at all necessarily.
Right.
But in this case, they put a lot of stock in it.
Well, it's just, we're in the weirdest time where people are willing to believe bullshit. It's not as simple as being able to recognize bullshit. They recognize it, they have it right in front of them, and they're willing to believe it because it's more convenient to believe it.
Yeah.
All right, I can't find it. I'm giving up right now. Damn it.
Well, they've said stuff like that for sure.
Yeah, I know they have, but this one was really interesting because you see this guy combat it, and the way he combats it is so interesting to see her squirm. Because, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. It's not a terrible crime that he committed, and you're making it seem as if it's something that he deserves to be in jail for the rest of his life for, and that's crazy. That's a crazy thing to say, and that might actually happen if he doesn't become president. If he doesn't become president, they might actually lock him up for 25 years for that, which is essentially the rest of his life will be behind bars at Rikers.
Yeah, I kind of go back. That's the conventional wisdom, at least the people I talk to, that they say, well, if Trump doesn't win, he's going to jail. And so he's got a lot on the line here. I kind of think, are they really, maybe it's naive of me to think, but would they do that, or would they rather just, he loses, Kamala wins, and then they can they'd want Trump to just fade into obscurity and never talk about him again? I don't know. I would tend to think that would be, that they'd prefer that, but probably not.
Yeah, you don't know. It's so hard to tell what people would or wouldn't do today. It's just the whole country seems so committed to their side. And I don't know what a solution to that is, and I don't know how we get past this and whether Trump wins or loses. What happens? What happens next?
There's certainly a real thirst for vengeance. They want revenge on him. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it comes down to. Whether it helps them politically or not, because I think that's the problem, is that if Kamala wins and then they really go after Trump and try to put him in jail, and if they actually do put him in jail, I don't see how it helps them politically. I think that's just going to radicalize people on the right even more than they already are.
It will radicalize people on the right, but people,
and for good reason, by the way. I'm radicalized by it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help them politically, but I think he has to pay the price for defying them for so many years.
But if he does get in office, then it gets very interesting. Because then it's what can he do now? How much different is his take on it now? Because one of the things that he said is the first time he got in, he didn't know anything about governing. He's like, I had to find people, and I picked some of the wrong people, but I know better now.
And I think it shows in recruiting RFK Jr. and Tulsi, and even wanting to put Elon Musk in a position where he knows Elon flourishes, which is cutting the fat out of companies. I think 100% he does know a lot better. And I think there's some people where he understands now, oh, okay, I see what you're going to do. I understand now. And, I can fire the head of that agency? I just might do that. I can make RFK the head of the CIA? Maybe. There's a lot that he can actually do. Hopefully he actually does some wild things. Let's move on to Megyn Kelly talking about this situation. Again, she's a lawyer. She knows a little bit more about this than Joe Rogan and Matt Walsh. Let's hear her take on it.
He said, great, I'll do it. So we sat down in September of last year. It was a great interview. It was challenging. He was not in love with it. Good.
Which part?
Where I hammered him on the legal stuff.
Yeah.
It had a crescendo and a decrescendo like every good interview should. We started off with some stuff that he would like. Joe Biden's old. How about that? And then you built.
You warmed him up. It's a classic strategy, right?
So on the lawfare, so Judge Mershon just moved the sentencing date from, I guess it was supposed to be a few days ago, to November 18th. It occurs to me that's 2 weeks after the election. So if Mershon wants to send Trump to prison, but is afraid to do it now because it'd be a huge backlash for the election, seems to me that's kind of what you do. You set the date 2 weeks after. What's your take on that? Do you
If he gets elected,
if Trump loses the election, do you think he's going to Rikers?
No, I don't.
You don't think so? Okay.
I think there's a possibility Mershon will sentence him because this whole case, which was about him writing down something in a book no one ever saw, it was in a book that stayed on the shelf at Trump Tower, didn't have the right thing. It didn't say hush money to Stormy Daniels. It said legal services. No one ever saw that. Just someone came knocking because they wanted to mess with Trump, found it and said, this isn't recorded accurately. It's a fraud. And he got prosecuted. And I think Judge Mershon has allowed Alvin Bragg to turn it into, you tried to steal the election because now, guys, I'm sorry to tell you, but if you ever want to run for office, you have an ethical obligation to let any woman accusing you of any bad stuff come forward and say it to everyone. And if she says, I won't hurt you publicly, whether it's true or not, if you just give me $130,000, you may not pay her or you're going to go to jail. So you must let yourself be blackmailed. Let someone say this stuff about you, true or not, or you're going to prison. That's how that case was tried. That is now the position that every politician is in, theoretically.
I mean, the case made sense as a misdemeanor, but not as a felony. I think you would agree.
No, it made no sense. As a misdemeanor, the statute of limitations had expired.
Sure, but
Long
I mean,
since.
it clearly was escalated to a point. But I wonder how you think, as with family members, in the, that are cops, how you look at the other cases, and if you think there's any validity to them, because there are 5 cases we're talking about. He's guilty of the first 3 so far out of 3. Some of them feel trumped up. But what about the last 2? The documents and the January 6th one, do you think there's any validity to them?
No validity. The only thing that Trump was potentially in trouble on, and the thing I hit him on when we interviewed, was not turning over the documents once he had a subpoena.
Which would have been so easy to do.
Yes. But
which was dumb, but he's Trump.
He should have turned them over.
He always does self-destructive stuff.
But that one's gone away now too because of Jack Smith not being properly appointed down there. But in answer to your question on Judge Mershon, I think he almost is in a position where he might have to sentence him to jail given how big they've tried to make it. You stole an election. But it would be at a suspended sentence. It would be immediately appealed. And I think Trump on appeal will win. There are so many holes in that case, so I don't think Trump will ever do one single day in jail.
So, Megyn, if...
So, I tend to agree with her, but there was a case. Well, I shouldn't say there was a case. There was a story where people were saying that they're prepping Rikers for Trump to go to jail. And I remember it didn't get much steam. I saw like Tim Pool covering it and a couple of other people, but it didn't pick up a lot of steam. And I didn't want to cover it because I was like, this doesn't make sense. It just sounded wrong. Why would they be prepping already? The case hasn't even gone down. I don't put it past them to be that confident in all of the trickery they've been pulling. So they're just like, we're weaponizing the system anyway. We already know what's going to happen. Maybe, but Trump jail cell being prepped in Rikers. See if that pops up. But also it was like New York Times, Yeah, see, there is a story about it. May 8th, this came out. It's very interesting. So Rikers ready to receive Trump, says Eric Adams. Oh, the same Eric Adams that's getting investigated by the FBI? Oh, okay. Okay. You okay there? You okay there, Eric? I think Eric might be in Rikers Island by the time everything's said and done. They're professionals. Eric told them they'll be ready. So yeah, it was a story that just picked up a little too much steam. They were just saying the last thing I wanted to do was put you in jail, the former president of the United States of America, and if possible, the next president as well. But at the end of the day, I have a job to do, and part of that job is to protect the dignity of the judicial system. Yeah, I don't see this happening. I don't see this happening at all. Here's the reason why. Okay. You'd have to be insane. If Trump's already announced, he actually announced, I think it was today or yesterday, that if he loses this election, he's done. He's not going to run again. He's just going to back down from politics altogether. So instead, what they would do is put him in jail, and then he becomes the biggest symbol for freedom, for American freedom ever. That's it. The guy, he was supposed to, this is the story that will be, he was supposed to be president. They weaponized the system. They put him in jail, and he's rotting in jail. He's going to spend his last days in jail because he wanted to help us. That's going to be the story. You sure? You sure you want that type of story out there? Let me tell you something. If he loses November 5th, and they put him in jail, 6 months later, he'll be the president. And I'm not going to go. YouTube won't let me go into the details of how that'll happen, but it'll be messy. He'll end up being the president. Believe you me. I know you're like, what do you mean 6 months? That's not an election cycle. Oh yeah. Hell, it's not. Nope. Not at all. But people will be so mad. What? Pfft. J6. Bro, forget J6. Every letter of the alphabet 6. Oh, it's done. It'll be a problem, except for LGBT and Q and IASL plus and all those people. They won't be a part of it. But the rest of the letters of the alphabet, oh, they're going in. They're going in. I'm just saying, So I don't think he's gonna go to jail. On top of that, he's a president and he's supposed to have Secret Service for the rest of his life. So what happens there? They go in with him, Do they clear out a whole cell block and just have him sit there? What happens? You know what I mean? None of it makes sense. Like house arrest, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't think anything like that's going to happen. Megyn Kelly says none of that's going to happen. I think what happens is it goes up to the Supreme Court. They're pretty conservative. They're not going to allow that to happen either. It's just, no. I don't see it happening at all. But, like Matt Walsh and Joe were kind of touching on, who knows what they're willing to do. These people from Kamala, Biden, all the people behind them running things. I think it's Blinken myself. A lot of people say Obama. I think it's Blinken. They're not the most intelligent people. And maybe I'm not seeing how many steps ahead they're thinking with what they're doing. But when you see them day to day, you're like, oh, this is bad. Like the Illuminati picked the worst puppets. The Illuminati picked the worst people to put in charge, to put in the face of everybody. You know what I mean? The Illuminati used to pick some greats. They had Obama. Obama walked up, couldn't even see the strings on Obama. He's like, yes, we can. I want to tell everybody right now, me and Michelle, common mistake. We're going to bring prosperity and justice. You know what I mean? Like, they had some good ones. George Bush Jr., you know what I mean? It's like, he's George Bush, Prescott Bush. That's his grandson. He'll do fine. He was okay. He's like, mission accomplished. Now watch this drive. You know what I mean? Like, he was good. He was fine. They had Bill Clinton, because they had so much dirt on Bill. This grimy, muddy dirt on Bill Clinton, for sure. For sure. Now they got Kamala Harris. The Illuminati's down bad, Never thought I'd say that about those people, Jeez. Even the Freemasons had George Washington. Look it up. Look it up. I'm just saying. But anyways, guys, I just wanted to bring you that really quick. What do you think is going to happen with Donald Trump? Do you think he's going to do a day in jail? I really don't see it happening. I know that they hate him, but what will happen? You ever seen the end of The Matrix? I know it's hard to watch that movie until the very end, but what happens at the end? All the Smith agents come and they all want Neo. Trump is Neo. And then they go, rah! And then they get Neo finally. And that's what destroys them. If they put him in jail, it destroys the whole system resets. That's it. And it's not a Klaus Schwab reset where everybody has chips in their brain and there's no more elections. No. It's like a 1776 reset. Oh, I'm just saying, you know? So I don't think he's going to do a day in jail, but let me know in the comment section if you think he's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. And if he is, yeah, I don't think he is. But also, like, what came to mind just as I was saying that before I'm going to sign off? Biden should be too. You know what I mean? Throwing people in jail. Biden should be in jail for the rest of his life too. Just saying. Am I wrong? I don't know. There's a lot on that guy. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. It helps us tremendously. Other than that, I'm out.